everybody. Welcome to Tuesday. We don't have John Young with us. Well, he's here in spirit.
He's here in spirit, yeah.
But
he's not here physically.
It's the gang tonight. It's Pastor J. Brannan.
Thank you. Yes. Cheers.
It's superstar DJ Scott Carroll.
Cheers.
Mr. Howie Darkstar.
Security.
And our man in Mexico, JC. Tonight, for starters, and more people may come in, we're going to talk about ways to learn new music. And not just brand new music, but new to you music.
Yes.
As DJs, this is something that I feel like is a good idea to discover new music and discover different genres and different kind of hidden gems. Even if it's not a brand new song, could be something old, could be something a couple years old, could be something 50 years old. But
right.
I thought it would be interesting to just kind of talk about different ways that we might be able to approach this. Absolutely. So I'm going to turn this over to Pastor Jay and let him give us some of his thoughts on this, because that'll take about 20 minutes.
Well. Yes. Let's see. It's funny, when you first gave me this topic a little bit earlier this evening, and I thought, man, back in the day, we were so kind of locked down to whatever we had access to. You go to the store, you go to MTV, you go to Billboard, but it was difficult at times to look past the surface. And what I mean by that is, if I got the new funky mix, it had the remixes of the tracks that were bangers in that genre, usually hip hop, dance, pop. And that's what I would end up playing. And if I got a bride and groom that, we're really into country. Oh, what do you like? I would take what I had and determine what I played.
Right.
Now I notice when I have an event coming up, I go to promo only pool, and there's got to be 3,000-4,000 songs a month.
Right.
So I'm determining, is it a banger? Do I need it? Do I have to have it? I'm going through a thing right now trying to get back to what I call normal, meaning next season. Because a lot of us haven't spent the last 8-9 months preparing to get back to business. At least with me, I've kind of shut down and said, okay, I'll get back to it. And one of the things I want to do is come up with a crate for dance country.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to those that are big country guys, we got Scott in the room. He's, probably knows a ton more than I do.
Yeah.
But luckily, due to promo only pool and other music sources, I have a lot of country. I have thousands of songs, but I judge them based on the BPM. JC and I were in here one night talking about Latin music and music from Mexico and South America and Central America. And, if it's a faster BPM, it's a more dance song. Okay, I know that. But where it gets a little bit confusing, for me at least, is trying to determine what I need to get. So as an example, let's use country. I don't know if you remember, Brian, back in the 90s, CMT, I think it was the Country Music Television or whatever it stood for.
Yeah.
They used to have line dancing every day when line dancing was really getting big in the mid to early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching it a couple times, as a DJ, it'd be good for me to know what is the tush push. And I need Achy Breaky Heart, I need Boot Scootin' Boogie, and Watermelon Crawl, and Tim McGraw, I Like It. And okay, I'm good. I only need a few songs. And I left it. Well, I want to become a little bit more well-versed, I think, in all these different genres. Latin, same thing. I've got a ton of Latin, but I base it on what I'm told it is and the BPM. And I think for me to find out new, it really comes down to going to other DJs. The sources for music, obviously YouTube is a big one. Billboard will tell me what's big, but let's be honest. If I told you the top 10 in March of this year, you may not be playing outside of maybe Blinding Lights. None of those other tracks may make your playlist for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So even though that was a big calling card back in the day for how is it on Billboard, that's not the case anymore. And I think a lot of what I find personally is I have to explore. I have to talk to DJs. I have to look at the charts on music services. And I've said them a few times, but to me, promo only constantly gives me pretty much everything I need in an edited form, and I love going there. But, you know, I'll say to a Scott Carroll, I'll say to JC for Latin, I'll, you know, talk to Howie about different forms, different genres he's playing. Let's say I get a client who's coming from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, something like that. He's a great source to go to. That, I think, is something we don't do often enough. We don't have a dialogue about, hey, Brian, yeah, I've got a client here. It's Julie Dahmer. She's from Milwaukee. Is it something I should be playing? You know,
the Dahmer family's from Ohio, by the way, just to be clear.
Well, I mean, they could have moved there, though.
They're transplants.
Never know. Yeah, she's talking about, like, could you play Sweet Chocolate? And I don't know what that means, but you know, that kind of
Ambrosia Chocolate. Is that a yacht rock song? No.
Yeah. By the way, I am growing the beard, and over there is a flannel because I've been asked to go to New Zealand in March as the new tour manager for Ambrosia, Firefall, a New England Day and John Ford Coley tribute, Poco, and about 18 other bands that
Rupert
are
Holmes.
rock. So I need to have the beard, long hair. I'm getting some Ray-Ban Aviators.
Nice.
I'm wearing, this is actually the actual tour shirt we're using. It's cassette tape, which makes sense. Yeah. But
I Kenny Loggins impersonator, basically.
Well, you know, I'd like to try that. I think what it really comes down to, though, is more than ever before, we need to talk. I was speaking real quick yesterday with somebody, and I said I remember coming back from Vegas back in 2000, 2001 with, there was a guy, you guys may know his name. I can't remember his name. He owned a company called The Source. And I think it was out of LA. And he sold like X-Mix, Funky Mix, Ultimix, Hot Tracks, like all those great CD remix services. And he would come to Mobile Beat and have those discs for sale. So you'd walk in and buy like Funky Mix 40 for like $10. It would have like ODB, Got My Money,
right,
and, you know, whatever else was right around that time. And I remember coming back to San Diego with those and saying, I've got stuff no one else has. Like, if you didn't buy this, because the internet wasn't what it is today.
Right.
But I still think it goes back to those days. I think we need to have an open dialogue with each other. And I mean, come on, we've all got 8,000 friends on Facebook. Just go on Facebook and put up a post. Hey, got a wedding coming up and they're asking for a lot of country. Anyone want to pipe in? You know, you're going to get great guys that are going to come in and say, hey, you should try this, or this is really banging right now, or I play this in Pensacola. Stacy Knowles. I'd call Stacy and be like, hey, bro, hook a brother up. What do I need to do here to get some good country going?
Sure.
You know?
Well, you were talking about promo only 20 minutes ago when you started talking. And something interesting.
Hey, I'm sorry, Brian. It's already 9
I
o'clock.
called it. It's okay. It's all good. No, but something interesting about, you know, this thing that we have now where those of us who are a part of legitimate music pools.
Yes.
Get so much music in one way. This is fantastic.
Oh, it's awesome.
This is amazing. It's like,
awesome.
Wow, I've got all these new songs.
Right.
But that's a lot of songs. You need to find out what is important within those 8,000 songs you got in the last 2 months. Now, back in the old days, I got promo only mainstream radio, and I could pull out those 20 songs. I could listen to them in the truck back and forth to my day job every day.
The red Dodge.
No, the blue Dodge before the red Dodge.
Oh, okay.
It looked just like it, but it was 2-wheel drive.
He had dual exhaust on it. It sounded awesome.
Nah, that one was pretty tame. But anyway, I would be familiar with everything on it. And then for country, it was like, well, I don't really do country events, but I'll do events that ask for country. And at the time, there was a jukebox service called Hot Hits.
Yes.
And they had an issue called Dancing Country. And I bought it. And that thing had the Boot Scootin' Boogie was the first track, and then it was like Chattahoochee and just stuff.
Yeah,
you know, watermelon crawling it up on there, and a lot of stuff. So you just played off that disc. I didn't need to buy anything else. It's like that's what I need because I got a little bit of that. You know, if they want it, when the line dance thing was hot. But yeah, it's harder now because here's the music. Work it out, son. That's kind of the Nick Hahn approach to this.
You got to get that stuff taken care of, Brian. What are you talking about?
You got to figure it out yourself, boy.
Figure out how you play some misfits with that, dude. What the hell?
So that's the hard.
You know what, though, Brian? Let me ask you this, and this goes into the question.
Yeah.
Look at the difference in the expectation today with the ability to go online. Like, I noticed when people come up and make a request 10, 15, 20 years ago, hey, do you have, was the opening line. Hey, by any chance, do you have Aerosmith, Angel? You know what? I do. And I'm going to do some slow stuff later. It'd be a great choice. I'll try to do my best to get that on later for you. Mm-hmm. Done. Now it's, hey, you need to play this. Or here's my phone. Or can you play? Like, nobody has asked me, do I have? And a couple recently, I did a wedding November 14th. So only a couple weeks ago. And someone came up and said, do you have the Temptations' Oh Mother? And I said, let me check. If I do, I'll totally get that on for you. I go through. For whatever reason, I did not have it. And they looked at me like, seriously? I'm like, yeah, sorry, bro. I don't have it. I don't have it, and I can't get online. So do you have a second choice? No, man, I really wanted to hear that. And there was, I kind of did this. Half of me was like, you know what? I wish I knew the music better and I would have known what to play instead or suggest. Mm-hmm. But then the other half of me was like, hey, dude, somebody paid for you to drink and eat all night and provided you with a great DJ who didn't have a stupid song you want.
Let me give you
get over it.
And I'm not criticizing you specifically, but there's a way I feel like we can handle this where we're not the bad guy who just doesn't have the right song.
Right.
And the way I think we can handle this is, first of all, in response to anybody who comes up and says, hey, can you play, I don't know, Short and Curly's by the Rolling Stones? And you're like, I don't have that. Is there a second choice? The problem with the question, is there a second choice, is that it's a closed-ended question.
Right.
The answer is either yes or no, and it can very easily be no. The question you ask is,
point, don't you
what
think?
else could I play for you?
Yeah, and I agree with that. Question. But they never ask you, Brian, when it's dead. No one's ever coming up to me when there's no one dancing and saying, hey, man, can you play this? It's in the middle of a packed dance floor, and I'm in like one or two songs ahead. So, and I completely agree with you. It is a closed, and I hate to say this, but when I became a husband, I felt I was a better wedding DJ because I had a better sense of the stress of getting married. Mm-hmm. Then when I became a father, I felt I was just a better DJ because I realized that speaking to guests at weddings and other events is oftentimes like talking to children.
I don't want to sidetrack this too much.
You have to give them a closed-ended response.
I don't want to sidetrack this too much, but I'm curious, JC, how does this translate in Spanish? Is there an open-ended question and a closed-ended question form that you can ask?
And please do not respond in English because it would be hysterical if you only spoke in Spanish.
No.
English is weird like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you go to Germany, like, you know, here, if somebody were to say to you, you know, do you like, I don't know, cookies? Chocolate. You could answer that question. You can say no like 50 different ways. In Germany, 9.
Yeah. It's very black
and not white. 9 ways. No in German is 9.
Right.
And I think a lot of languages are like that. So English is interesting that way, where we can ask open-ended questions.
We have to go back to the front. In most languages, that makes no sense at all. I know exactly what I meant. I have to go back up to the front. Or I have to go back to the front. That means I'm not here, I'm leaving and going up there. But in other languages, people look at you like nothing. You just made no sense at all. Well, but do you think I think oftentimes, depending on where you are in the evening, determines the answer. You come up to me in the middle of a cocktail and go, hey man, later on, if you get a chance, bunch of us, went to school with the groom. We're really down with Footloose. I'll put it in the prepare spot and I'll accept that you're telling me the truth. But once we're into full dancing, it becomes a little hedgy.
Yeah, I understand what
And
you're
you
saying.
get the drunk girl who was in a sorority with the bride and swears
Yeah.
she loves doing karaoke to Madonna like a virgin. It's like,
I get it. I get it. But, I'm thinking to myself, typically when somebody comes out and asks for a specific song, it's usually not okay. If they're asking for something that I don't have, it's usually has nothing to do with what I'm doing right now.
right.
Like, let's say they want to hear a rock song and I'm in the middle of a hip hop set.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the middle of Usher's Yeah or something like that, and they come up to me and they want to hear Back in Black by AC/DC or some bullshit. Now, I can handle this a couple different ways. I could say, man, no, I don't have that song, and I'm doing, this is not what we're playing right. Or I could say, you know what? I need to mix it up. I need to get back into a rock set real soon, and I'm going to.
That'd be a great mix, by the way.
I don't know if I have that song, but I tell you what, I will get into a rock set really soon. I'll play something cool. Rock. Oh, cool. Usually I can keep them at bay like that. Usually. Right. It's how you respond sometimes, I think, it means a lot, It really does.
I totally agree. And honestly, my pat answer, if I don't have it, I'll at least be honest enough to say, hey, you know what, I don't have that. Is there something else? I.e., what's your second choice, whatever? Because oftentimes what I'm getting paid to do is what I'm doing. So that request may come at a point where it's a bother. Like I'm in the middle of a dance set. I don't need to stop to talk to you about you'd love to hear AC/DC. Hey, that's awesome, dude. Maybe your favorite color is green. And I don't care about that either because I've got a job to do. And that's exactly what I'm doing for the client. And they're in the middle of the dance floor. You're never going to tell me in most cases, you're rarely, let's say, not never, but rarely ever going to say something to me at a wedding or an event that's going to change the trajectory because you know something I don't. Now, if you know the bride and groom are huge fans of X, yeah, let me know and say, oh, the bride and groom have seen X 10 times, right? No, I didn't know that. Thank you so much. Make a note. But you wanting to hear a song at a wedding or an event is only important to you. I hate to sound like an a-hole, but it's only important to you. Like you want to hear Prince and I'm in the middle of DJing a set and I'm playing Shook Me All Night Long. My answer to you would honestly be, bro, I'd love to play some Prince. Probably do Kiss. Kiss cool with you? Yeah. When I get back down to that BPM range, that's what I'll play. And 100% of the time they look at me like, okay, cool, man, thank you. And they walk away because I've given them a qualified answer by saying, that's a great choice, but it's too slow for where I am now. Like when you said you're doing Usher and someone comes up and wants Back in Black, my head went to, they're not that far apart.
They're not. And that would
probably
be a bad example.
Mix. If they wanted Shook Me All Night Long, my answer would have just simply been, hey, dude, do me a favor. I've got to get the BPMs going faster because that's a much faster song. When I get up there, I'll do my best to get that on for you. And they
Carol, what do you have to say about all this stuff?
Y'all have got me lost for words on this. What I always try to do is I try to make sure that I give them that ultimate that, hey, look, if I don't have it, can I play this for you instead on the same artist?
Sure.
And loop it around. Because if they give you something that's an album track, and with Jay, with that Temptation song, that was an album track.
Right. You
were giving them out, and we used to call them that. But
yeah,
they still think we have everything. Well, don't you have the CD in there, or don't you have the album?
Well, but that's what I meant earlier, Scott. That's the downside now. Back in the day, back in your day, let's say, when you were hitting it with like, no. And what this is a compliment.
Way back in your day.
You know,
hey, I think you're older than Scott, so be careful.
I probably am, but I know Scott started in the 30s. I'm just saying, like, you know, when you would drop that phonogram needle, you know. No, but when back in the day, the DJ's role was to come up with music that the crowd danced to. Now the DJ has pretty much been relegated down to a jukebox that people feel obligated to make selections around because their phones give them access to millions and millions of songs, and they just assume, well, the DJ must have everything. And it's like, no, but there's also a point where the reality kicks in of, yeah, I don't have WAP with me and I can get it.
Changed, Jay?
I'm just not going to.
When we went from vinyl to CD, the compilations started coming out where they had compilations had the singles on them.
Right.
When we were doing records, okay, yeah, we had our 12-inch singles, but we also played our off our albums too.
Right.
Took 4 Peaches crates and probably 2 and 2. I had 2 that would run nothing but the remixes. The other half was all actually albums, and we could pull the cuts off of them. And that's how, I used to mark them. I used to mark which ones that I would normally get played, so they were easy to find. But that was that change between that. And now that we went even more digital now with MP3, we've lost it even further. It's gotten further down because what was bad to buy one CD for one song on it for $17.
I agree. And I remember that too.
I remember ripping in Sheryl Crow's Tuesday Night Music Club, the whole CD, for all I want to do was have some fun.
I was going to say just for the one single.
There wasn't another song.
Nothing else broke.
But I ripped it all in.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, what a waste. I don't want to do this anymore. So I just started cherry picking off of the albums. But like Scott said, you lose the album tracks that way. Howie,
well, I wanted to play Cradle of Love, and you had to get the Ford Fairlane soundtrack because Billy Idol didn't put Cradle of Love on anything.
Oh, one more thing. It's 31 degrees in North Florida right now, by the way.
I think it's 30. Let's see who's beating who, by the way. Before Howie jumps in on this.
We'll go to Howie
next. Howie's got to say here. What is it in Wisconsin right now or Milwaukee? Right now, I'm hitting refresh. It is 34 degrees, so it's warmer here than it is there.
There, yes.
Nope, I'm wrong. It just updated. We're 28. You're still warmer.
Okay. Go ahead, Howie.
You're going to hell if you're dropping 6 degrees in 3 seconds, dude.
33.
You ain't making it. Howie.
Go.
Yes. What is the question? I thought you were going to.
We didn't have a question. I just want to see if you had anything you want to add.
Oh, as far as not having that particular track, what has always worked for me was to offer them an alternative.
Yeah.
These days you can't do that, but I would go, come here. They want to feel important and they want to feel like they're getting something. So I would come around. I didn't have that track, but I would pull it up. It's like, okay, let's say it was, you're saying AC/DC. I'm like, yeah, man, I don't have that Back in Black for some reason. And I said, but how about something from, oh, yeah, that one there, yeah.
Yeah.
And they walk away like you gave them, $1 million.
I have a follow-up question for you.
They got something. They're satisfied.
I have a follow-up question for you on that.
Sure.
And it's not, I guess, it's not even a follow-up question. It's a completely different question, so forgive me. But I'm curious, Howie.
Yes.
How do you learn about new music? And when I say new music, like I said at the top of the show, it doesn't be a brand new song, but something new to you. How do you learn about new music?
2 ways these days. During these last 9 months, I've been boning up on things that I missed because I was doing live sound. Is right here in the chill room, Gold. I don't have to pick up the phone all the time. We can come in here and ask. And the second one was, I really didn't understand freestyle until you put that video out. And then I went and I looked in my library because, like you say, 4,000 songs a month from promo only. I'm like, I have this stuff and I never listened to it, And so I went and I actually made a crate off of your freestyle, and I've been listening to it for a few weeks now. And we talked about this on another show, some of the stuff that I really like. And I'm like, wow, I didn't realize I had that. And it's like, and that's a good song. And I recognized it, from hearing it at different events. And now I understand. And not only that, but the way it was explained, that it had the Latin percussion to it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's what because you had said, it used to be called Latin freestyle and
Latin hip hop.
Or hip hop, and then they shortened it to freestyle. And I'm like, oh, because I get confused with these so many subgenres, and that made it very clear to me. So yeah, those are my two main things right at this moment that I'm learning is right here in the room, because we have people from all over the world and all over the country right here in the chill room, and from videos that you guys do.
It goes back to what Jay was saying earlier, and that is we really need to lean on our fellow DJs sometimes, and ask them questions and talk to them. You know how much music I've learned from Scott Carroll?
Yeah,
I really have learned a lot about different tracks and you know what? I may never play these tracks live, but I might. He's turned me on to stuff that I had no idea about.
And also cool. Too, in here, when you and Jay get into this, and I would follow it up with that, and I'm like thinking, wow, I never thought of that. Yeah, that's right. You're playing this track. What are you going to follow it with? And I'm like, we played that game like that one time where, hey, what do you play next? And I'm like, wow, like I didn't think of that, and
sure.
Taking notes and give it a try. And it's like, you know what? That works.
Can I share with you guys what I think is really unfortunate, and I hear it a lot when I talk
Cardi
about
B
songs. Well, I don't have a problem with Cardi B as long as Cardi B makes people happy. I'm fine with it. I don't.
They're not happy. They're doing what I did with Don McLean and American Pie when he said, "No angel born in hell," and I was like, "Oh, this is like adult music. This is cool." It's the same thing now. There's no way you're listening to that crap. That's right. I said crap.
Why people like
saying,
what they like.
Oh, this is awesome.
And a lot of it is association stuff. If they were listening at home, they wouldn't care. But if they see something happening while that song is playing, then they're associating that thing or that feeling or those people with the music. And maybe it brings up good thoughts. But regardless,
there's no way.
I think it's really unfortunate today. When I talk to certain DJs about music, they will say to me, I would never play that at a gig.
Oh, yeah.
Like, well, no, I'm not suggesting it. Well, why would I even need to know this song?
Because you're a DJ.
If I wasn't ever going to play it at a wedding.
You're a DJ. That's why.
Because we love music.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, JC is this guy.
I'm sorry. I had this conversation last night with somebody. I won't name names. And I said, blah, blah, blah. Our friend, insert name, is not a DJ. And he goes, no, he's a DJ. He plays out at clubs all the time. I go, no, he plays his style on one piece of gear for 1 hour. He can't do a wedding. He can't do a bar mitzvah. He can't do a Latin birthday party. He can't do a Kant's. He can't do an 80th birthday party. He can't do any of these things. He's a specialty DJ. And if I get crap about this, I don't care. I know a lot of guys and I've gotten corporate gigs in clubs for 6, 7, 8 hours long because the DJs in the club were like, yeah, man, I can't do any of that open format crap. I do trip hop. I do bass. I do this. I do that. They deserve all the respect in the world, but then wear that badge proudly and say, I'm a house DJ. There was a big thing about 20 years ago about, is it better to be a mobile DJ or a club DJ? Well, club DJs can rock a club and they can rock a house and this and that. Mobile DJs, in one given night, I might only play 70 or 80 songs. But guess what? Genres, I'm playing music from the 30s to today, from every possible genre you could ever think of. So in my opinion, the mobile DJ has the leg up, not the club guy, because as a mobile DJ, I can go on Twitch tonight and do a 3-hour house set and play house music, but I'm a mobile wedding DJ.
It's interesting. I did an interview.
Can the house DJ come into my world and rock a 3, 4, 5-hour wedding and run that gamut? And it's not a put down. So don't get twisted with, well, Jay's saying they're better. No, what I'm saying is be a specialty. We were talking about me doing automotive work today. I had to tear down a motor and rebuild it, and I put a turbo and a supercharger in it. And, it was a lot. Yeah. I've got grease under my fingernails.
430 over.
Yeah, I'm 30, 31, whatever it
Won't
took.
Be cam.
I used 220, 221 on electricity, just whatever it took is what I did. And I think you have to look at things from a perspective. If you're a specialist in Porsche transmissions, and I have a Chevy 350 in my 2001 Suburban, and I go, hey, Brian, I know you're a mechanic. Dude, I'm having a problem with this alternator, and I think the belt tensioners, and you go, hey, man, I'm really sorry. I'm a mechanic, but I really am specialized in Porsche transmissions.
I'm just going to tell you right now that if you know how to rebuild a Porsche transmission, you could pretty much rebuild any transmission.
But I'm trying to find that common ground of, if you're a specialist in something, like if you want to be an orthopedic surgeon, you still had to go to medical school with the rest of the general internists. So you're all doctors. But if you talk to a 50-year-old orthopedic surgeon and say, I got this cough, he's going to be like, you know what, I talked to a general internist. I mean, it could be pneumonia, it could be asthma, it could be COPD. I once I got out of medical school, I specialized in this. So I kind of left a lot of that knowledge behind. I think that's kind of where club versus mobile versus whatever DJs are. And I think sometimes getting information is difficult.
I'm curious. What did you have for dinner tonight?
Me?
No, JC.
Oh.
What did I have dinner? I went to McDonald's.
But it's Taco Tuesday.
To McDonald's.
You went to McDonald's on Taco Tuesday. Awesome.
Yeah. Wow. What did you have, though? What do they have at McDonald's in Mexico City?
Same shit.
The same. Yeah. The
tamales?
At McDonald's is McDonald's. No. So how do you learn new music, JC?
What I do is I talk a lot and I say that I'm a DJ and I love music. What kind of music do you love? So you will tell me, no, I like reggaeton, no? So say, right. Which artists? And I start looking it up and you find a lot of things very nice. No? People always.
Yeah.
By the way, Daddy Yankee's the only reggaeton artist, so I've got you right there. That's all you got. Just look at that. Don Omar.
It's all general. But you know what I really like about your answer, JC, is that you care enough to actually even ask people what they like.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, because there are a lot of people out there who could care less. They know what they
and I get a lot of referrals and a lot of same client gigs over and over, because I remember, and I remember that you told me that you liked Sepultura, or you liked Pantera. So the next time you came and I saw you at a party, Root. I was gonna play that song.
I do that.
So they like it very much.
Yeah,
I do that too. That's a great point. I do that too.
The club thing, that was fun. You just remember that guy's song. I remember I was DJing at State Fair. Remember the State Fair gigs I used to post?
Oh yeah.
We got they had a guy who was managing the stage in the restaurant that I was playing for. The guy who was there, everybody loved him. He was a great guy, whatever. They got a new guy. He was actually a military guy, and he was real hardcore. and people weren't sure about him, but he was brand new. And I walk in one year like, oh, we got this new guy, man. I don't know. We don't like him. We're really worried.
Have you talked to him?
So I see the guy. I'm like, hey, man, I'm your DJ. I'm Brian. He's like, hi. I said, what's your favorite song? He said, oh, my favorite song is Heartbeat by Don Johnson.
It's a great song.
I said, okay. So
Miami
every
Vice time,
day,
baby.
every day I played Heartbeat for Don Johnson. I pointed at him. He gave me the thumbs up.
Good.
And he was my friend, and I worked there for years after that.
Yeah.
I broke the ice with this guy, with music.
Real quick, every wedding, for the most part, with some exceptions, I try to use one mic on a stand a little bit lower than the bride, the groom, and the officiant. I did a wedding about 5 years ago, and the groom was a wounded warrior. And the bride had met him doing marathons and things. And I said to him, I'm like, what are you, like 5'10", 5'11"? He's like 5'9.5". I'm like, okay. You're about 5'8.5", 5'8"? She's like, yeah. I said, how tall is the officiant? And they kind of looked at each other, and he goes, 6'11.5". I'm like, seriously? She goes, yeah.
And a half.
7
7 feet tall.
The officiant is Bill Walton. Bill Walton is a former professional basketball player for the Lakers, the Celtics. He was a huge star at UCLA with the Bruins.
I believe you.
And I say, oh, Bill Walton. Okay. Now, what I know about Bill Walton is that you don't know, and maybe JC doesn't know, and Howie may not, and JC, Scott may not. Bill Walton is he's actually in the Deadhead Hall of Fame.
Really?
Because he's a massive Deadhead fan, like on another level. So I show up the day of the wedding. I set up my gear. There's Bill Walton, famous guy, like Celtics won NBA championship. I lived in Boston at the time. Bill played for the Celtics, Larry Bird, Parrish. Like, if John was here, John C., you'd hear about it. And I get all done setting up. And I go to sound check the gear, and I load a track, and I hit play, and it's a 30-minute version of the Grateful Dead with Branford Marsalis from Connecticut in 1983 doing a song called Eyes in the World. And it wasn't on for more than 5 seconds. And he turns his back like this to look at me. Big smile, big thumbs up. I wait a few minutes. I walk over and I go, excuse me, Mr. Walton. I'm Jay Brannan. I'm the DJ today. He goes, Jay, it's Bill. It's great to meet you. The whole 9 yards. Get all done. I walk away and he goes, Jay, by the way, love your taste in music. Now, have I worked for him personally after the event? No. But for the rest of the night, every time he spoke to me, he started with Jay, which I learned later. People with a lot of charisma do. They just, like, Brian, that last song you played was amazing. 10 minutes later, Brian, are you hungry? Let me grab you, son. They get you on this level of you feel so good about yourself. But the next morning, he sent me an email, like 8:30 in the morning. Jay, thank you so much for all your help with the microphones and everything at, Scott and Julie's wedding yesterday. It was a great pleasure working with you. Amazing DJ. If I need one down the road, you're my first choice. Space. P.S. You picked the best version of Eyes in the World you could have. And I'm like, oh my God, he remembers everything I did. That was one of those moments where you're so caught up in knowing music and being a DJ that anyone else would have just been like, oh my God, Bill Walton used to play for the Lakers, right? But I made it a point to make sure that I had this version. I bought it the night before. I made sure I had it. By the way, earlier when we had the discussion about what do you tell people when they request music, there is a point where I say to the bride and groom at every meeting, you're going to tell me all the songs you want, or you're going to tell me nothing, but you'll tell me what you don't want. And I'll put together a list. And my goal is to make sure everyone has a great time. But I have one question. Do you ever want me to kill a dance floor for a request? And 100% of the time they say, no, we don't want that. I say, okay, I'm asking you this now because eventually someone may come up to me who's had a couple of pops and say, hey man, Barry Manilow Mandy, you got to rock that next. I'm like, bro, I'm playing LMFAO. I don't know that it'll really fit. Maybe when I slow down, I'll do my best to get it on. And if they come to you and complain, I want you to remember that you told me, don't kill the night based on one drunk a-hole's request.
Right.
And they snicker and laugh, but you know what? They get it. Because I hate to be the bearer of bad news, everyone, but sometimes as the DJ, we actually have to run block for the event. We actually have to say, yeah, you know what, Howie? Pennywise, Bro Him is a great track. And when the slam dancing starts and a fight breaks out and the wedding ends early because I hit play, I'm kind of sort of to blame. So I'm really sorry I don't have that song. But I'm not going to give you the prequel to that statement, you know?
You know,
So,
before we wrap the broadcast tonight, I thought it would be fun to do a little go around the room here.
And, we call it whip around.
Let's say that you had to play a Grateful Dead song at your general wedding reception.
Oh,
yep.
Easy.
If you did not have the 30-minute version of Eyes on the World, which
you have like, you know,
everyone's going to dance to,
and Touch of Grey, and
what would be your go-to Grateful Dead song that you would play at a wedding? If somebody comes up at a general wedding reception during dancing and says, play a Grateful Dead song for me, please, what would you pull out? Howie.
I'll go. That's real easy because it's their only number one song. And by the way, before I tell you the name of the song, Jay, I did know that about Bill Walton being a big Dead fan.
Oh, huge.
But
huge.
Touch of Grey, because everybody knows it. And you are going to cross generations with that song. And it's an upbeat song, and you can actually dance to it.
Yeah, you can. No, that's I hate to say this, and I'm interested to hear what everyone else has, because I have another one, but I still think yours is the only real answer is Touch of Grey.
What's yours, Jay?
Touch of Grey would be my very first, but if I couldn't get to Touch of Grey, I'd probably do something like Alabama Getaway.
Yeah.
Which is a fast track.
Awesome.
Same album.
Yeah.
You know, there's like 4 songs they had that were kind of faster. Alabama Getaway, Touch of Grey, Shakedown Street. It's real funky. That's actually not fast. That's slow. Need a Miracle.
Shakedown Street would be my choice, by the way. That would be
Shakedown Street's a great song.
Yeah.
Great song. Need a Miracle is a fast song. The only other one that I play all the time, believe it or not, when I get into the 70s rock genre, is a song called One More Saturday Night, which is a kind of a little more upbeat, and it's just about it's Saturday night, let's party, you know, that kind of vibe. Kind of.
You got anything on this, JC?
No.
How about you, Scott? You got anything on this?
I was trying to think of the one song.
Truckin'.
Yeah.
Althea. Most Deadhead fans all love Althea. That's a big one. Sugar Magnolia.
Sugar Magnolia is easy.
Not Fire in the Mountain, but it's something like Fire in the Mountain, something like that. I think knowing. I know a lot of times we have the expression, you know, knowing a little bit too much can be dangerous. But I think as DJs, man, I'm really happy. I mentioned to JC, we were talking one night in the chill room. I did a party last January for 600 people. And literally there was 2 white people in the room. It was me and the vice president of the company. And I slayed it. It was banda and cumbia and ranchero and salsa. And then, you know, more top 40 stuff. And then back to like reggaeton, back into salsa, back into banda, back into cumbia. Like I was all over the map, and they had a great time. And I told him then what I'll tell you guys now. My goal is to make anyone feel very comfortable about coming up and speaking to me. But if I'm playing a Latin set, I've hit it when you come up to me in Spanish and make a request.
Right.
Now, granted, I may have a little bit more of a Latino look with the darker skin, the hair, whatever. But when they come up in Spanish and make a request, inside, I'm like, ching, 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 ching. I hit it.
Right.
I used to do a gay hotel New Year's Eve event, and I've told you this, Brian, and I'll never forget one night playing a Sylvester song, and a guy came up and he said, we had the best night. I haven't partied like this since we were at Studio or the Garage. And I literally wanted to turn the fader down and go, okay, everyone, good night, get out, and just grab this guy and pull him aside and be like, so you were, because I did say to him, I go, wait, you were at 54 and the Garage? He's like, oh, the Loft, we would go on a Saturday and blah, 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 blah. And he ended up leaving. And I was so sad that I couldn't get from him what that must have been like musically. I think most of us as DJs love music. I think there is a segment of business DJs who don't give a shit about it and just play what they're supposed to, and they buy crates online, maybe not illegally, but they buy the music and they go, this is what works. This is what works. You know what? Every event you do is a new event, and it's the only event. It's the only wedding that couple's going to have with you. It's the only 80th birthday party that woman's going to have with you. Don't ever sell yourself short musically, and don't ever stop to say there is a perfect song you can find. We did this a few weeks ago with John and Brian and I about what would you play if we were at a party. Man, it meant a lot to me to try to come up with songs. It meant a lot to me to hear Brian say, I'd play this for Jay. It meant a lot to me to see that, you know, John understood where I was going with things and where Brian was going with things, because the greatest drug that we have on the planet Earth, in my opinion, is music. It's not addictive. It won't kill you. It is the greatest escape. There is nothing better than putting on headphones in a dark room, closing your eyes, and hitting play on a song. If I did it right now with Kansas, Carry On the Wayward Son, I would be 15, back in Belmont, Massachusetts, leaning against my bed, sitting across from my realistic all-in-one turntable and receiver with the speakers in front, and it would bring joy to me that you can't pay for. There's no amount of money that can recreate that kind of joy. Don't ever sell yourself short as a DJ. Understand every song means something to somebody. So learn, talk to somebody like JC, find out more about Latin music. Talk to Brian. Brian is a wealth of music that I wish I could tap into and wish I could even emulate.
You can always tap into it. I'm right here.
Well, no, but you know what I'm saying? Like in my own ways, in my own life, Brian's got a knowledge about music that's just, you know, I mean, it's scary. You know, we all bring something to the table. Howie and I have talked about, you know, the New York Dolls. You get the right client in the room and you play like Personality Breakdown or something else from the Dolls, and I guarantee you're making that guy's night. I think I told you guys I did a gig at the Hyatt about 6-7 years ago, and the old guy comes up to me. They asked for classic rock. I'm playing like, you know, 38 Special, Aerosmith, Blue Oyster Cult, this and that. And this guy walks up to me, older dude, mustache, gray hair, and he's like, effing, this is amazing. You've effing played everything I love. It's like you're in my effing head, and effing this and effing that. And he walks away, and I'm like, whoa, guy's hammered, but he's having a great time. And I'm like, hey, man, thanks so much. He walks away. And then the client, this young girl, walks over and she goes, yeah, I just spoke to my CEO, and he asked if you can go another hour. And I said, yeah, as long as you guys are cool with it. She's like, and he asked what you charge for that. And I think at the time it was $250. She goes, I'll be right back. She came back over and she goes, the CEO said that he's happy to pay you $500 for the next hour. And I was like, but it's $250. And she goes, he's really happy. He's right there. And she points.
To
And the guy goes,
the effing guy.
it's the effing guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
That's great.
but what's funny is he doesn't realize that we're probably only a couple years away from each other.
Right.
And what I'm doing, and that's the joy of being a DJ. And this is the part that I don't know if I even want to say this on camera because it might give away all the magic. This is a little behind the curtain. When I DJ any event, as much as I'm playing for the audience, for the bride and groom, for the client, I'm trying to emulate and bring up memories that I have with those songs. So when I play 38 Special, it's my memory. When I play REO Speedwagon, it's me making out with some girl. When I play anything, I want my joy to be represented too. And I think if you approach music from that perspective, you'll find that you not only open your horizons, but you end up making everybody really, really happy.
Jay, it ends up being more passion than it does a job.
Oh, absolutely. It's a love, Scott. It's an absolute love.
Well, people will pick
half
up
second
on that.
here.
They'll
Here.
pick up on that, much like dogs can tell, good people from bad. They will look at you and go, that guy's into it, and it's contagious.
You can
Speaking
tell
of
when
which-
somebody knows what they do.
Oh, there you
I
go.
heard.
I don't want to score points here, but this
Hi,
is the
Bailey.
newest member of
There
the
you go.
family. This is Bailey. Bailey, you want to be on camera?
You stole the
We're
show,
on a
Jay.
show. There you go. Whatever I
Hey, I
said was
would-
probably right or wrong.
I wanted to ask you a question.
Bailey's a little crazy.
When was
tonight,
the
so-
last time you had a dog?
Oh, honestly, in my life,
Yes.
it has been 30. Wait. Wow. I was 13. So it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Been a couple. No, I'm sorry, 15. 15, because we had the Greyhound after my first dog. Yeah. No, I mean, pets and I go way back. I remember the birthday and the day that I lost my dog at 13 and still remember it every year. So I'm that guy. I'm deep down inside, the joy of hitting the lottery won't be in moving forward. It'll be in going backwards. You'll know when you suddenly go, why is Jay driving the 1970 Galaxy 500 that just came out of the White Lightning movie with Burt Reynolds? Jay must have hit the lottery.
I got a friend here.
No new cars.
Wavy Davy. You've heard of Wavy.
Oh, I know Wavy.
No, you've met
Yeah.
Wavy.
Great voice.
Wavy was one of those people who never had a pet. Like, never had a pet. And when he would come over to your house, which, occasionally he would, if the dog would come to greet him or the cat would come, he just, what do they want? Like, he didn't understand the concept.
Just put a 20 on under their collar and you'll be
It's like, just, what do they want? What, didn't know how to act.
right.
But never had a dog, never had a cat, never had a bird, never had nothing. And to make a long story short, his father got Alzheimer's and he was worried about his father being alone. So they got his dad a dog, but the dog did not like his dad.
Oh,
So Wavy was trying to get rid of this dog. Nobody wanted this dog. So he ended up taking it. He's the biggest dog person you'd ever want to meet today.
yeah.
Like 10 years later, he is a dog guy. He's on the cover of like pet magazines with his dog.
Well, Brian, I mean,
Yeah.
people may or may not know, that's
know.
my screensaver since 2009.
Yeah.
It's the rabbit I had,
Yeah.
Buns. I mean, I had Bunners for 10 years.
I've still got this one.
Yeah, there you go.
Or Gizzy.
Yeah. No, same thing. No, I mean, I've had a snake. I had a 6-foot Colombian red tail. I've had a couple guinea pigs. We've got 2 guinea pigs upstairs now. Connor
Oh, you
suddenly
do?
decided he's going to have guinea pigs.
Stevie went through the whole guinea pig thing. Oh my
Yeah, we're doing that again. We had guinea
Gosh.
pigs like back in the 90s. Now we have one now.
God. Okay.
And you know what? I mean, animals are an amazing thing, but much like they are an amazing thing. And you mentioned, Alzheimer's, excuse me, music is that moment that brings up that memory and brings up that childhood and brings up that I was running with my dog when I was 10 and I heard Alan O'Day, Undercover Angel.
Yeah.
And, you know, then I was in high school and I was really anxious to dance with this girl to REO Speedwagon, you know, Can't Fight That Feeling or whatever. And you have that power. And I think, you know, we've had this discussion too many times, and I really hope before I stop being a DJ that it happens. But we should be respected on a level that's way up there. And we should be. No, we're not. And it's our own fault. Same reason we're not paid on a level that we should be paid on. But I think you need to stop and realize you have the power of memory. And memory is, you know, you get a couple at a wedding. When I get a couple at a wedding and I say, are you going to do the bouquet toss? We're on the fence. Do you want to do the anniversary dance? Are your parents together? Are your grandparents? Yeah, they're all together. Great. I'll tell you what, why don't we do this? Why don't we do the anniversary dance and give away the bouquet? Do you know what your grandparents, if they're going to win, do you know what their song was for their first dance? I'll try to find out. When they come back to me and say, yeah, they got married and their first dance was Unchained Melody. Okay. And I announced the anniversary dance. I need all the married couples to come out. I'm going to ask you to leave if you married less than a certain amount of time, so we get the couple married longest. And I hit play to that song. You can see in their eyes what that means to them, because they're now, what they don't know that I do is they're about to dance to their first dance at their granddaughter's wedding. And let me tell you, that is the kind of feeling and power and moment that I leave these events with that I never forget.
Would you mind if I did an impersonation real quick?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, guys, that's about it for our show this week. I'd like to thank you all.
John.
We are time, though, so we need to turn this off. But thank you all for hanging out with us. Thank you to everybody in the room for hanging out. We'll stick around. If anybody comes in, we'll talk to them.
If you're watching this next week and you want to come in now, we may not.
We're probably still going to be here.
Be here later.
We'll probably. I'll be here. I'll be here because we'll be here next week too.
Yeah. No, we'll be here tonight and next week.
Tuesday. Yeah. So we'll see you then, guys. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.